everyone, Mike with Elite Reef here. Today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about LPS corals. This is my favorite group of corals. They're fairly easygoing. They usually require medium light, medium flow, nothing too crazy fancy. Stable parameters are a must with almost all of them. But other than that, there's some really awesome, super fleshy shapes available. Tons and tons of different colors, and it's just a great coral group. So let's take a look at some of those. Alright, we're going to start off our look at LPS corals with this Favia. This is a pretty easy coral. Medium light, medium flow, not real demanding. You don't have to feed them a whole lot. They do require stable parameters, as with most LPS corals. And they'll usually grow in a mounding formation like this one you see here. They come in a bunch of different colors, so definitely a good one to collect different colors of. Next up we have bubble coral. This is probably one of the fleshiest of all the LPS corals. They get these huge bubbles on them, accompanied with feeder tentacles, which you can see there. Definitely a super interesting coral, adds a lot of motion to the tank under just a little bit of flow. These guys don't like a lot of flow. It's a danger to their flesh if they get knocked around too much. They don't need a whole lot of light. It's pretty easy going there as well. And they do need stable parameters. This one is goniopora. This is one of the very hardest of all the LPS corals. These common green ones here, definitely a difficult coral. There are a few strains of goniopora that are quite a bit easier, like the pink or red gonies, usually fairly attainable. They do add a lot of motion to the tank, as you can see, huge tentacles. They usually live down on the sand bed, just a solitary sand dweller. And they definitely need very stable parameters, a little bit dirtier water than some corals, so they can be kind of tough to incorporate into a reef tank. This is a frogspawn. This is probably one of the most popular of all the LPS corals. They had a ton of motion, a lot of color, pretty easy to grow as far as even LPS goes. They need stable parameters, but usually water changes are pretty well as much as these guys need. Medium flow, medium light, just a pretty easy coral. Sometimes clowns will host in these guys. They don't necessarily always like it, but it's another aspect that some people do buy these guys for. This is a micromussa. This was until just recently known as an acan. So I'll probably just refer to him as that because that's what I'm used to. These are medium difficulty coral. Require medium lighting. Not real picky about flow, though. They do puff up more under a little bit lower flow. Come in a ton of different colors, so they're definitely a cool one to collect. You can put together a little garden where you place them closely together. They'll usually get along. The big thing with these is definitely really stable parameters. Stable alkalinity, calcium, but definitely a must for these guys to thrive and grow well. Definitely a fun one to feed. You can put pellet foods straight into their mouths and just watch them transform right before your eyes. The last coral I want to talk to you about today is the plate coral. So usually from the Fungia family, there is quite a wide variety of these guys as far as their care level, as in like the heliofungias are definitely a lot more difficult than something like this, but this is a pretty common plate coral. So these are a pretty easygoing coral. They live down on the sand bed. They do need stable parameters, don't need a ton of light, but they do need a little bit more flow. One of the interesting things about these guys is they can actually move themselves or even unbury themselves from the sand. If you look around online, you can find quite a few time-lapse clips where they're buried completely and they just come right up out of the sand. So another decently easy one, good LPS coral. So those are some of my favorite LPS corals. As you saw, there's a huge variety, tons of color, different shapes. They're all really fleshy and add a lot of motion. If you've got any questions about any of the corals you saw in here, please do feel free to comment, stop by the shop, or give us a call. And until next time, thank you for watching.